the other tree divides us. And Eve, when she spoke with the serpent, what did she say? You know, to the serpent, who said, you know, basically it's hogwash that you're not supposed to eat that. And, oh, well, die. No, it can't even touch it. Oh, it can't even touch it. There was no mention not touching it. And the little story, rabbinic story goes that the serpent then, wily serpent, with the tail, went and slapped it against the tree the tree of the knowledge, the forbidden tree, and said, see, I didn't know it. So Eve put in a word that wasn't there. It wasn't an initial one. So you build up the hedge too high, like, for example, parents to their children. Now, if you go there, the boogeyman's going to get you. Or if you go across the street, the car's going to hit you. And the little kid finds out, that doesn't happen. So, credibility down the drain, or beginning. And so the thing that's very important, though, suddenly, when she quite aware, okay, maybe it's not true, distrust, then she doesn't see correctly anymore. She sees it's good to eat, and that is beautiful. Reversed, you take the text and look at it, you'll see that she reversed the parts. You know, she put contemplation at the end, but contemplation needs to be first, which means a loving trust in God who's going to give us what we need. Surrendering this grasping. And so Martin Buber says, what was the sin? Missing the mark. Missing the mark was lack of trust. If I don't take care of myself, nobody is going to do it. Well, in a certain way, that's true. On a 24/7, you have to do what you need to do. But to realize who I really am, the full integration, become who you're meant to be, God alone can help us with this. So it's learning to approach life with trust. But we can't approach life with trust if I don't approach myself with trust. That's where it starts, is how do I deal with myself? How do I deal with my thoughts, my feelings? Early on in childhood, I know it was for me, I was taught, and it was good, I only got little bits and pieces, but we never stayed around long enough to unpack it and get the right meaning of things, moving around so much. But one of the things that really frightened me is that passage in, I think it's in Matthew, where even if you lust for, or even if you're angry, you know, it's like, you know, then it goes on to say, you know, that actually putting it into practice, and of course it's danger of hellfire or lost, death. That wasn't the right understanding. That's wrong, and it's many times interpreted this way, that the feeling or the thought is forbidden. That's not so. Even doubt is not a sin. To feel doubt, to experience lust, to experience sexual desires, to experience, boy, I'd like to have that. All those feelings, which are from thoughts and feelings. We often use the word intermingling, but they're not the same, which we'll address this when we do meditation, is the feeling is, let's say, okay, it's lust or a desire for something. We can become a witness of that. Oh yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Let's look at No. Well, why do I want to eat more candy or eat this? Okay, not wrong, even if it will harm me. It's not like we hurt God because I overate. What happens is we hurt ourselves. So what was going on that I didn't make the right choice? What was going on in me, the healthy choice? What I really want. And so these are the things, they're pathways to self-understanding so that we can cooperate with grace to experience freedom, to experience letting go of what's immediately pleasurable in view of something that is more essential for us, what we really desire. And when we recognize that we have made choices that are not healthy, and we really experience through that I received this insight, and I'm so grateful that I see this, not beat myself up, well, you shouldn't have done this, and blah, 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 with all the things that happen because you, that's, you have to recognize yes, there are consequences. However, the inventory is within oneself, and when one really experiences the gladness to see better what I see now, that overwhelms our hearts, and then we want to do what is healthy. So, back to our text here, can we remember our power as persons? Nothing has any power over us. We're all here Orthodox. We've been to the services in the Ascension, the Kondakian. Nothing has any power over us because you are with us. You are in me. To trust that. To trust that we have this power. God has given it to us. We need to awaken to this power. Can we remind ourselves and others that nurtured in silence, our awareness can lead us back to integrity and meaning? Yes, nurtured in silence, our awareness can lead us back to integrity and meaning. That's the key words there is awareness, attention, alert, wake up. And it leads to Christ consciousness. So each of us has a holy capacity. I did some handouts here, and don't have to look at them now, but later on, because I don't want to spend too much time talking. I want to give the time for experience. So, whether it's today or when you're home and you want to ruminate something that can help you in your spiritual path, then on Grace, the retreat at St. Jacob. On this topic of grace, it's really quite important, I believe, for the different kinds of spiritual awakenings, which might happen today. There's a spiritual awakening that is up and out. In other words, there's like a transcendent moment, the mystery. It's up and out. Then there's another one, which is the descent, which is the descent of the Holy Spirit, for example, Jesus in the baptism. fathers, spiritual mothers, as I moved around. But there came a time also where it was like 5 years just simply having to wait on God and not allow despair to take over. Someone on the wall held me tightly. Keep your mind in hell and do not despair. Doesn't mean you, I prefer to, for our American generation here, is keep your mind in hope and love and trust. Don't despair. But you don't know what hope and trust is when it's so dark. But you can make that intention and keep stable so the mind doesn't just go twirling around, taking us off into chaos and into imagining the worst, which is what happens sometimes when things are very difficult. We didn't bring it on. Sometimes we did have a part because we belong to our groups or people we have engaged in, communities. Things happen. So these are moments where it's so important to find our bearings in the heart, deep in the heart, and trust. And take the tools that will help us to center and trust. These are the real deaths along the way where our ego really puts up a fuss. And there's bitterness, there's resentment, these are feelings, let's say, not there is. There's feelings of all sorts of feelings that seem very negative. And sometimes they can give us an overwhelming sense of having power over us, but they do not, because we stay rooted, just like that parable of what Jesus said, build your house on the rock, solid, because yes, there will be waves. And so times like that of difficulties, and God knows what difficulties we're living in this present American society right now, and the fears and for the future, and the children, the kids who are the Time magazines, how pathetic, the depression, it's on the cover, and you saw it, the adolescents, the big plague right now is depression. Well, because it seems hopeless. And where are they getting the hopelessness from? A lot of it is the media. And it's a lot of it is reality, but things have been terrible before. Since the fall. But we just simply are exposing ourselves and the children to realities that they cannot handle and they shouldn't have to handle. So we adults need to be strong. We need to have inner wisdom and live it ourselves and communicate to our surroundings a life of faith and hope and trust in God, doing what we can, but knowing where we can't do. And the energy that we give out when we are in that positive, trustful, faith-based mentality. I believe, and I'm sure you believe it too, because we wouldn't be praying otherwise. It has energy that passes. It passes. It lifts up the people. We don't see it right away. Obviously, this is again in faith. We know this from faith. So anyway, don't need to go too much on that because you know about it yourself. From experience, even perhaps more than I do. So there is this up and out, which is a transcendent moment, the glimpse, the joy. However, it doesn't last. It's very, very, very few people who live constantly in that aura and that mindset. It's the down and in where most of us experience God. Is the experience is within our hearts and our perceptions as we meet the daily. God is here and now. It doesn't look like it, it doesn't feel like it, but the raw material is given to us to help in the transformation into spirit living, whatever it might be. And it's a paradox, these two different apparent, different approaches to the divine presence. But the Gospels are full of these paradoxes. It's full, but you just get little, you know. If you look, if you really want a good exercise to deepen your own personal experience of grace, take the Gospels, all of them, and look at the parables. Look at these one-liner, which Jesus says once in a while there's a one-liner or two-liner. Trouble if we don't, Brother Christopher will talk about this, the Lectio Divina piece is, stop, don't go so far, so quick. Stay with the text. Stay with the word and lay it on your heart, let it unpack. And then look at your daily in the light of some of these parables. How do they apply? We have to help God to help us. And remember that we are God's agents and stewards in this world. And the tree of life, the Word, the person of Jesus Christ, present in the Spirit, and feeding on this as often as we can, just by just calling back a second of the word that touched us. You see, we're lifted above ourselves, but if we don't come down, it's not going to take root. And so we need to have those times we have to do computer work, have it, but be aware that at any time we go off just out of curiosity for something, we're taking our attention away from this so important mission, which is to prepare our hearts constantly to receive it, to receive the word, but also it needs water, it needs sunshine, and by analogy, I think you know how to apply that in your life. But, so this one I wrote, I gathered it together for you, particularly here, the Grace Retreat at St. Jacob's. And then another that I'm going to be getting you, and we're going to start pretty soon with prayer, a meditation. I said some of this again, these are thoughts this morning that came to me, is putting on the mind of Christ. And incidentally, those who were here today for the Matins, it was very interesting